The Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission have agreed to split oversight on Google and Amazon in light of a possible antitrust investigation. This comes amid an increasing global pushback against the big tech companies. Many international leaders criticize them for having too much power.
The European Union has fined Google 3 times in the last 3 years for violating antitrust laws. In the U.S., lawmakers and presidential candidates have made tech regulation a major campaign issue.
Joining us now from Washington is the Policy Council for Competition Policy at Public Knowledge and former attorney for the Federal Trade Commission, Charlotte Slayman. Charlotte, that's a mouthful. That's quite a title.
Thank you.
So what does antitrust mean, and how does it impact everyday users?
Yeah, so antitrust is sort of concerns about corporate power, but it's actually a pretty specific and narrow area of the law. Simply being a monopoly or having a lot of corporate power isn't enough. A company also has to actually do something wrong. So the FTC and the DOJ will go through this long process, looking at a lot of economic indicators and presumably try to make a decision about whether something went wrong here.
So what is the difference, I guess, Charlotte, historically speaking, when the United States would have looked at a company like Standard Oil and decide to break that up? Most people now know what Standard Oil used to be are all those different oil companies, Sunoco, and that now, sort of when you get your gas pumped across the U.S., that used to be one large company, right? So the criteria that they used in the case, for example, of Standard Oil, is that still applicable in 2019 with these technology companies?
So antitrust has definitely narrowed over time since the time of Standard Oil. It is harder to bring an antitrust case today than it was then. And there are some new interesting problems that are posed by technology companies. They're a very different kind of industry than selling oil to gas stations.
Yeah. So Amazon has competition. Walmart, for instance, Google has competition, although their competitors don't come close to the kind of business they have. So is this a question of success and size, or do they have to, in order to prosecute this successfully, show that there was something nefarious going on to try to eliminate competitors?
Yeah, you've hit on the key point. They have to show that there was something nefarious going on. If all they can show is that there aren't very many competitors and they have a lot of power, that wouldn't be enough.
So what's the process then that they're using to investigate that?
Yes. So they probably will call up some of the companies that are customers of the target company, in this case, Google or Amazon. So maybe some of the smaller retailers that are selling on Amazon, and talk with those companies about sort of what they see as their options. If Amazon suddenly became a lot more expensive for them to use, what alternative would they use, and how difficult would that be for their business is one of the major questions to determine what actually is the market in order to see whether Amazon has too much power in that market.
There are at least some members of Congress who are threatening to get involved in this and break up the large tech companies. I know at least one of the candidates, Elizabeth Warren, is suggesting that that might be a good thing. Does that go in line with this kind of investigation? I mean, does that influence it in any way?
I don't think that will influence the investigation much. Certainly, the agencies are aware of the conversation that's going on in Congress and with the presidential candidates, but they are law enforcement agencies, and so I think they're going to hew closely to the law.
Charlotte, we were talking about Google and Amazon, but the business models are very, very different, right? Amazon,
yes.
You can make the case, or perhaps antitrust lawyers can make the case, that a company like Amazon has put hundreds, if not thousands, of small businesses out of business because of their business model. And that could be deemed as unfair. Whereas Google, what Google has done is innovative, and they don't sell a product necessarily in the same way that we think of Amazon. They have a service and they provide information. I don't know how easy it is to, aren't they apples and oranges?
They're definitely different companies, and they have different business models, so it makes perfect sense that these are going to be separate investigations. But I think the product that Google sells is advertising. So us as users are not really the customer from the perspective of the antitrust enforcers. They're more likely to be looking at the impact on other companies.
And we have to say also that Amazon is a source for other small companies to sell their things through,
Absolutely.
and big companies as well. So it's not just Amazon goods being sold on Amazon.
Charlotte, thank you very much. Really informative.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.